Hey world, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of the Inspired Podcast, where we're inspiring you to live the abundant life you deserve. We have another awesome guest on the line. Her name is Monique Stapleton. She's a marketing director for a sports agent. So we got a lot of tips for marketing coming, sports agent, and how to get into the sports world. But a little bit of backstory. Me and Monique, we went at a while back in 2014, 2015,
Yeah.
we met at a company that we used to door knock at for AT&T. We did market. So we did door knocking, sold AT&T, and it was just an experience of the door opening for entrepreneurship. So after that, she moved on, we moved on and did our own paths. So Momo, tell us a little bit about your story and where you've been.
Look, I've come a long way from knocking doors, but definitely appreciate like the platform that, doing that door-to-door sales allowed for us. But since then, when we moved to Georgia, I had expanded with one of the other leaders on in the company, and that allowed me to kind of jump right into marketing and into entrepreneurship. That's where I did my first adventure with my sister, and that was in marketing for technology with like beacons and NFC tags and things like that. So that technology side of marketing was what I really started getting into. And then from there, I ventured into wellness. I ventured into sports. I ventured back into wellness, and it's been a rodeo ride, but it allowed me to move out of the country and work from anywhere. It allowed me to connect with a lot of incredible brands and incredible athletes. But it all started with marketing at door to door sales and getting to Atlanta because Atlanta opened up that bug or planted that seed in me to see that, I can kind of do anything and go anywhere. But since then, me and my sister did start a sports agency once she became a certified NBA agent. And then from there, we've kind of scouted out some basketball players. We've represented them overseas. We've worked with some high school to college to professional athletes. And it's been a lot of fun. And like I was telling you before we got started, it made me appreciate athletes on a whole nother level because their work ethic, their drive is just uncomparable for them to be the top of their sport. Okay.
So man, you've been on a journey. You've been a journey to entrepreneurship, finding yourself. So what was the biggest thing that sparked the inspiration for becoming a sports agent? Like, where do I start to become a sports agent if I want to?
Okay. So, and to be a sports agent, you kind of have to pick your field because depending on the sport, that's going to navigate what it looks like to be a certified agent. There are opportunities for you to be just a general athlete agent, and there, depending on the state that you're in, you'll have to qualify and, pay for the certifications and things of that nature. If you want to go the NBA route, which is what my sister is an NBA, FIBA, and NCAA certified agent, you'll have to go ahead and take the test, pass that test, which is an incredibly, when I say she had this thick of a stack of learning the rules and regulations to be able to negotiate the contracts and represent the athletes in the best manner. But all that to say, you do have to go through a level of certification to become that athlete agent or the NBA agent. And from there, once you get your accreditation, you can move forward with, recruiting to get athletes under your belt. Now, when it comes to the marketing side of it, if you're within an agency, you kind of just have to have an eye for creativity. A lot of times with the campaigns that go behind athletes, it's connecting to their legacy, it's connecting to their passions, to their communities. And you just have to have an eye for being able to connect your athlete's desire to the community that it can serve or it should serve, or whether it's a product or an event, whatever it might be. You as the marketing person has to be able to kind of be that funnel or be that liaison or catalyst to be able to bring it to life for that athlete and for that company.
All right. That's cool. So break it down a little bit more for me, right? So
Okay.
I get all of that. So, what it is behind the scene of marketing? How do you go about the day to day of marketing to athletes to come to your sisters and your agency?
Okay, so honestly, it has been a organic deal with Tamara Walcott, who is one of our top clients. We met her by way of a connection that was made years ago, and just being good at what we do and showing up consistently every day. They made the connection to say, like, hey, like, I'm experiencing growth in my career and I want to make sure I have the best representation. Do you know someone? That's something that she put out into the world, and they knew us and connected us with her. And the relationship has been 5+ years now. And we've been going representing her. So a lot of times it's about who you know and what you're doing actively to show up in the space. So we've always been known for marketing. We've always been known for creative strategies and thinking outside of the box and, really going to every single level to make sure our athletes are represented well. And that was able to get us in the door with her and a lot of the other athletes that we've been able to work with.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. So, tell me, before you got there, what has been one of the lowest points or lowest moments in your life on your journey to entrepreneurship?
Ooh, okay. There's been a few. So, okay, do you want to hear about like low, like the bank account and the dollars and the cents don't add up, or low, like mental burnout? Like, what side of it are you trying to tap into?
Let's see both because you never know. Somebody may be going through the financial trouble. Somebody may be going through the burnout part because I've kind of recently experienced the burnout part of starting at 3 a.m. in the morning and going to sleep at 11. That's burnout right there. You can't sustain that
Absolutely.
for the long term. So definitely both ends of the spectrum. I like to hear.
Well, I'll say this. A lot of my lows have come at my next biggest height because the transition from working your way up to learn at the level, let's say you're at level one, you work really hard to learn everything at level one. Once you get to level two, you're at the very bottom of level two. And it truly sucks because you work so hard to accomplish something between being a new person at level one to being the best person at level one. So a lot of times during that transition of growth, it really is painful, but it's the time that you use to reflect and appreciate everything that you put into to learn to become that person to get to level two, level three, level four, and then also using that as an opportunity to help other people because that's where you're going to find your fulfillment. So whether it was burnout or it was financial woes, like that downfall came at a trend, or that hurtful feeling, or that rut, or whatever I want to call it, like, or my roller coaster ride as I call it. When I'm at that low point, it's definitely because I know that there's about to be a great jump. There's about to be a great learning curve that's needed. And it just really forces me to reflect and appreciate how far I've come.
That's good because, like, some people would look at the roller coaster or the low as why me? Why I gotta go through this? When they don't realize that you just have to keep on pushing. And if you push through, you're gonna get to that level two, three, four, like you was talking about. So
Yeah, no,
that's
it's
very
definitely, you got to be kind to your future self. David Meltzer is someone that introduced me to that idea, and just the thought process of I get to do this. Because think about the millions of people who consume the things that we create, the millions of people who have big dreams, and we're a part of a small percentage of people who are willing to take that deep dive and ride that roller coaster ride to say that we're going to go after our dreams. And in the community it feels like there's a lot of us, but when you account for all the people in the world, like, we're a small percentage of entrepreneurs. And sometimes we look delusional, but it's only delusional until it works.
yeah. Then
You
they're gonna
try
be
a
like, "How
million
you did
times.
it?" Then they're like, "How you do it? What you did? How you got success overnight?" When they don't know you've been trying this success thing for 5, 10 years, trying to
Yeah.
figure everything out.
You've been failing for day in and day out. And, the only difference between a person that's successful and one that's not is that you continue to go forward. You take that next step, you make that pivot, you just continue on and on and on. Whereas somebody else just throws in a towel or just, says it's not for them.
Yeah. And you said something really, really powerful earlier because you say you get to. That's an opportunity. Because sometimes we say, I have to do this, I have to do this, I got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to do anything. You don't got to do anything. It's an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity because someone is looking at your life and wishing they had the opportunity to get to do what you're doing.
That
So
is it.
you may be riding a bike and somebody's in the hospital looking at you in a wheelchair, or you may be driving a car and somebody riding a bike. So it's an opportunity get to do what you want to do. So that's very powerful as you say that.
Yes, look, that get to do a thing until you go through a season of not being able to do what you really are passionate about, it makes you just I get to do this. I get to wake up. I get to go to the gym. I get to do this. I get to do that. Like you just shift your mind into the fact that you get to do something and then it turns into a gift and an appreciation. Definitely that opportunity is always a gift.
So what you're doing now as a marketing director, do you feel like it's aligned with your purpose and who you want to be in your future self?
Yes, because I have tried to work in other industries, but the core of what I do is always marketing. I can just keep switching hats, but what I do day to day, what gets me excited, what I get like giddy about and like bubbly and butterflies is like when somebody comes to me with this business idea or this idea in general, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is what we can do with it. And it's just,
Yeah.
sometimes people don't even want me to go there with it, but I'm just like my mind is wired for marketing. So whether I'm marketing towels or athletes, it's something that I think I will forever be connected and fulfilled by doing.
Okay. That's interesting because I don't know if you remember Roberto when we were at AT&T,
Yeah.
but he's also been on here as well,
Nice.
and he's doing marketing, um, a knee band for people who've been through knee injuries. So he markets that, and he built a whole brand and company around it. So it's interesting
Wow.
that
Look,
that
I
you're
mean,
in marketing.
door to door sales, you have to be able to market it. You have to, sales and
Yeah,
marketing, they go hand in hand. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So I think that's what really pushes you to get out your comfort zone because you have to go through the no's to get to the yeses, especially when you've been out there for almost 5 hours and you just been getting no's all day.
Yes. Like your mentality has to be solid. Like I promise you the shortest amount of time that we spent there is equivalent to years of experience that some people have had because who are we to walk into someone's neighborhood, knock on a stranger's door and say, "Hi, you don't know me, I don't know you, but I have something to sell you. Please allow me into your house to talk to you
Mhm.
about it." And we
Right.
did it day in and day out. We walked around strange places from what was it like 10 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening religiously.
Yep.
We were bold. We were very bold and door to door sales. Anyone out there that's doing it, I take my hat off to you because it is definitely a job that you have to have. You have to persevere through. You have to have the right mentality for.
Even today, for real, because even today when people come door knock my house, I still have compassion for them because I've been there, I've seen it, I've known what you've been through trying to make a sale. Because if you don't smile, you don't eat.
Yeah. My sister always laughs at me because I'll invite them in, I'll listen to their spiel, I'll give them some water, and I'm just like, I don't need it, but like, enjoy the rest of your day. And like, if I feel as if they're like on a roll and they feel like they're about to stop me, I'm be like, I have done this before and I appreciate what you're doing, so I'll allow you to do it to get your practice in, but I'm not gonna be the sale today. But there's a level of love, especially in the summertime when it's hot. Here's some
Yeah,
water. Keep going. You got
yeah,
this. You're one no closer to your yes.
for real. That's cool. So, what is the day in the life of a marketer for a sports agent?
Okay. So my day in the life is different than like anybody else that has the hat that I wear because I have the unique ability to create my schedule. With me coming back to the United States, I'm still working out a schedule. So it is no 2 days look the same. I might wake up one morning and I'm in meetings from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, which is typically Fridays. Other days, I might wake up, do some marketing work as far as like building out videos, campaigns, double checking on clients. But no 2 days look the same, to be completely honest. But all of it kind of goes back to facilitating the athlete and the campaigns that they have going on. So I'm going to make sure that they know, like, hey, like, I need to get some footage from you. I need you to be able to do X, Y, and Z. I might check in with the brand, like, hey, what is it that you need from us? How can we better move this campaign forward? Those are the things that I do throughout the week and throughout the month to make sure that the wheels keep turning.
So, what is some advice that you would tell somebody that's looking to get into marketing or just the sports agent arena? What would you tell them to help them get there?
I would tell them to start with yourself. Start to learn how to market yourself. Really understand like the value that you offer in any room and fall in love with yourself. Do the personal development because that's where it starts. You can do anything and be in any room and work for any agency or to have your own business as long as you know what it is that you bring to the table, whether it's your soft skills, it's your hard skills, like those things about yourself. And when you do that development, it makes you a more vibrant and outgoing professional as a whole. So if you're coming into marketing, people want to feel that confidence. They want to feel that, you know something about yourself to where you can speak about it in the world. And that will allow you to represent whatever client you have in the best light. So doing that personal development is going to be key.
Speaking about personal development, what are some books that you've read or some audios that you've listened to help you to become the person you are today?
Okay. At different seasons, I've listened to different books. The Power of Now was a really good book. How to Win Friends and Influence People, another great book. 48 Laws of Power, really great book. The Power and The Secret, really good for like creating the manifestation law of attraction. That was an awesome book. There's a long list. I walk around with books in my bag. It is if a book gravitates to me, I'm gonna read it and reread it. Um, yeah.
So, what has been the one that made the most impact on you in this journey to entrepreneurship?
I wouldn't say any one book has made a big impact. I think the biggest impact was just being aware of myself. I think once I was aware of who I am and what I am consistently doing in any single room that I go into, whether it's professional or personal, I think that was a big shift for me. And then that allowed me to kind of say, like, okay, well, how do we build on this? Because there's not a room that I go in and people aren't just like, oh my God, you're so positive, you're so happy, you're so bubbly when I walk into a space. And it's just like, once I know that about myself, I'm like, okay, well, what do positive, bubbly people do? Like, and then it's like you start to read about it and you start to connect with concepts. And that's where it kind of my catalog of books that I'm willing to read. And then outside of that, I'll look for a certain skill set that I want to hone or I want to learn more about. And then I'll read into that. But I wouldn't say it was any one book that kind of was the one that was just like, now you're great. It was looking inwards, looking in the mirror and saying like, Monique, like it's undeniable. And that was a really powerful moment for me.
So, this is going to be a little funny question,
Okay.
but tell me, how did you get from adult toys to the sports agent? And how did you get into that? And how did you flip it all back?
So I was always in the sports agency. I just did not take an active role. I've always, from the time I was in college, I've always had a passion for relationships, for sexual wellness. And toys was one of those things that kind of fell under the umbrella of being a tool to to help couples, but also to market because it allowed me to connect with the audiences that are out there in a way of having a tangible product. So for seeing me with the toys, that was a product of good marketing. But if you knew me, you interacted with me, you knew that the gem of it was that I was helping to save relationships because I'm allowing people to have conversations that they were uncomfortable with having and allowing them to be vulnerable to say like, hey, like, our spice isn't what it's always been, but if we use a tool like this, it might spark something else, or at least it will start a conversation. So the wellness side of it is what I cared and valued for, and which is why I kind of took a step back from the adult products and the sexual wellness because it shifted from being about relationships and communication and growth and kind of heavily on like toys and things that were extremely provocative. But the entire time I've always done the marketing as it comes for the agency, but I've kind of always been behind the scenes because of the sexual wellness. It does kind of, if you're not educated, if you're not in tune with it, if you're extremely conservative, to know that someone that's running a sports agency that deals with athletes who have all types of kinky things that go on with them. I'm the face of a sexual wellness brand. That's the balance of that is always, you know, has always been something that Dominique and I have kind of played around with. But coming back into the States, we were moving into the youth sports. So I made a decision and I said, like, hey, like, I don't ever want the fact that I'm willing to be out front about sexual wellness to deter us from being successful from working with children because of course we're all adults and people are
Yes.
intimate in their homes and but they may not be intimate on the internet. So I was willing to definitely kind of put those things to the side, put my toys in the closet to be able to work in spaces that will allow people to feel comfortable and confident in the work that we're doing.
That's awesome. That just shows how mature and grown you are. You have to pivot and get to where you want to go. Because even in the space where you said it was more geared towards sexual versus the wellness portion, I think how did you even get to navigate and see like, look, it's getting too much, it's going left too fast, and I'm gonna move back here. Because
When so
that must have been a challenge when you started like with one mindset and now it's going left.
Yeah, it wasn't a challenge because on one end, like there is ego, and I'm just like I put together such a strategy that was effective and it
Okay.
put my business out there and allow it to grow. But the reputation was more so on products and sales and the success of that more than it was of, relationships that were able to grow stronger and to be longer or whatever the way that I wanted it to kind of show up. It wasn't happening. The gap was there. So there was more people to be excited to say like, oh my God, I bought this product that's viral from this girl that's super bubbly and exciting and knowledgeable about these things versus, a couple that's just like, we were about to get divorced and she, was someone that created room for us to talk and be vulnerable. So the contrast was there, and I will forever have a love for both sides of the business. I just know that if I venture back into that world, it will be in a more formal setting, and of course on the back end we will have tools that help people be successful because toys and products of that nature are important in relationships, and once you have the mindset to allow them in, it definitely does makes life a lot more fun, a lot spicier.
Okay. All right. So how important is like NIL now these days? Because that just came alive about recently, 3 to 4 years ago, NIL. So how important would, and I'm switching gears because I know
Yeah,
you're
I'm about
not
to say
into
you
that
just took
anymore.
like a hard
Yeah, I know. But I was like, you know what? I saw this. Let me see how this came about. So, but tell me, how does NIL affect, and how important it is to build your brand
So
as well as
NIL is
gender?
extremely important because in some states, high school students are able to tap into the wealth that comes from it. So a lot of the athletic programs have been generating millions and billions of dollars with the athletes, and the athletes have not been able to, capitalize off of it. They haven't been able to change their lives. So imagine a student who goes home and he's frustrated because there's not hot water, frustrated because there's, bills that need to be paid. And then he goes back to college and everyone around him is wealthy and has a level of security that his family doesn't have. But he is on billboards and he's in every, airport or and that's just some of the circumstances, but to know that that is happening and now with NIL there's an opportunity for that to be shifted does a turn things from being fun and for the love of the sports and put a level of business behind it. But I think it's definitely useful and needed at this time. When it comes to the branding side of things, it is tricky because kids are going to be kids. So to expect a 15-year-old, 16-year-old to appreciate what a brand is as them being the brand, that's something that I think is going to take some time to click to them. But I feel like the platforms Instagram and TikTok are allowing them to express themselves and kind of form a brand. It's just for the adults in the room now to start to build the knowledge and the vocabulary because that's where it starts. It starts at home. So as parents, aunts, uncles, coaches, and the adults in the sports space start to educate themselves on NIL, educate themselves on how to navigate this new crazy hectic world to make sure that their kids are compliant and that their kids are doing things to market themselves better. I feel like that's going to push things forward in the right way because where did you learn about a bank account? I hope it was from your parents. Where did you learn, the important things in the structure and the value and those things? You learn that in your home or by watching someone that you admire as an adult. So that same thing is going to apply for this, and I don't anticipate it being any different. So parents are going to have to wake up. Parents are going to have to pay attention. There's going to be people who get taken advantage of along the way, which is going to be terrible to see, but it's going to, force the adults in the space to really get active and help these kids navigate these hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars that they're going to be given before they really have structure in their life.
He didn't get drafted early. He went down to 154 or 146 or some 44, 144. And in his contract, he put the prime equity clause. I don't know if you heard about that. That was interesting because he made all the money that he kind of made the money that he lost. So it's important to let these children know that you still gotta build your brand. Yeah, you're planning to go to the league, but hey, you're the brand too. You can attract that wealth, that money. So that was just interesting to see as far as like him just flipping it back on them. Like, all right, you guys didn't draft me, but my jersey's still sold and I
Yep.
get a whole percentage of it. So that's one of the biggest things. Yeah.
No, good continue.
Yeah. So that was interesting to me. And I just thought I'd bring it up to see if you seen it and you could relate it to the younger generation that, yeah, you're good, but still take care of your brand too, you know?
Yeah. It's crazy because I would connect it to his father. I would connect it to the example that was formed and the person that kind of created that blueprint for him and allow his mind to think in that way. Because if you pay attention through that entire draft process, like it was nothing but positivity that came out from that corner. But I don't like to talk about the entire situation because I think it's unfortunate. I think that there's a lot of things that could have been done differently, should have been done differently. So when we talk about it, I like to say that I appreciate his father for creating that mindset for him, that blueprint for him to see himself as a brand and to understand the business side of things. Because when you create that brand for yourself, you now are going into the conversation with the schools, with the collectives, with the brands as a brand, and you're just like, hey, like, let's talk at the table as equals, not as you're a huge brand with a lot of money, I'm a person that plays on a team, how can you help me? You know, when you have done the work to build that personal brand, it's like, how can we help each other? Because with or without this big brand, I'm still a brand and I'm still successful in generating revenue for my name, image, and likeness. And I think that should shine through the most with that entire situation.
So we're coming towards the end. So what are some last minute pieces of advice that you would give to anybody that's watching this podcast?
I would say always look inward and think of your life or your career or whatever level of it you want to look at it as if it's a picture at the beginning, or a painting at the beginning. When you're painting those first few brush strokes, you might make mistakes, but when you have that entire picture finished and you look at it, it's beautiful, and you're never going to just zero in on that one aspect, that one brush stroke that didn't go the right way. So just kind of always have that perception and perspective over the things that you go out there and try to do.
That's amazing. I couldn't even have said that better. That's amazing because sometimes we get caught up in the one thing we do wrong and not realize that the whole picture is amazing.
Yeah. Like that's what I just say, like, it, because I connected to God. I'm just like, God created me as like this beautiful being. So am I gonna zero in on the one brushstroke that might go to the left that should have went to the right? So, I feel like if it works for me, it could work for somebody else. So why not share it?
Right. So if somebody wanted to get in contact with you and your sister's company, how would they be able to contact you?
You can go to our website, stapletonsportsgroup.com, and you'll be able to get in contact with us there. Social media, we're both a hit or miss on social media. You might see us on there talking about no worth a mill. You might see me on there talking about personal branding. But as an athlete or a parent that's looking to be in the sports space and work with myself or my sister, well, with us as the agency, stapletonsportsgroup.com is going to be your best place to go.
Nice. All right. And then I saw some videos of Dominique like breaking it down. So have you been on the podcast as well and shared your part of the story?
Yeah, I had the first episode on the podcast, and like I told you, it's been a while since I've spoken on a platform, and I'm just like, no, like I'm ums and ahs and oohs. And whereas years ago when I used to drill myself day in and day out about it, I've come a long way and I've worked behind the scenes enough to where I told her, no, we can't put that episode out. So we'll probably circle back again and record record another one. Now that I've kind of, knocked the cobwebs off, knocked the dust off, and I'm ready to have conversations on camera again. We'll circle back and do it.
Listen, I think you did fine this one, even though there were some questions that had you looking like, I can't believe you're asking this.
Yeah. You know, in my mind, I always know that there's certain topics that will forever come up because it always goes back to great marketing. And if I'm not able to talk about it and feel comfortable and confident in who I was at every step of my journey, then what did I do it for?
Yeah. Because sometimes we get caught up in the self doubt and believe that who we are in the past is, oof, you said a lot right there. Who we are in the past is who we're going to be in the future. But sometimes we just got to know that it's part of who we were, who
Yeah.
we are. We grew, we learned from it, we came out on top, and that's what matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Momo, I want to thank you for sharing your story on the podcast. I want to thank you for just being an awesome person. Your energy since I met you has always been fun, happy to be around, and just bubbly, like you said earlier. But I just want to thank you. Thank everybody for watching. And we'll see you guys next time on Be Inspired Podcast, where we're inspiring you to live the abundant life you deserve. Momo, do you have any last minute thoughts you want to share with the podcast?
Now, I just want to say thank you for having me and thank you for creating a space that allows that gap to be filled for a lot of entrepreneurs who may not get the opportunity to know that there's the in between before you go from what am I doing to I've figured it out completely.
Right. So we'll see you guys next week on Be Inspired Podcast. Peace out. See you guys later.